So how the heck do we measure intelligence? It's so hard to figure out how to measure intelligence, but we do. We do attempt to, at least. Um, so how do we do that? Well, how would you measure intelligence? Let's go ahead and try some items from actual intelligence tests. And as we go, ask yourself if that question, the questions we're asking, are actually measuring intelligence, in your opinion. Do you think it's actually a question about intelligence? So the first question. Suppose that all the gemstones were made of foam rubber. Which of the following completions would then be correct for the analogy below? Wood hard, diamond, A, valuable, B, soft, C, brittle, D, hardest. Got your answer? The answer is B, soft, because all of the gemstones are made of foam rubber. Question 2. Janet, Barbara, and Elaine are a housewife, lawyer, and physicist, although not necessarily in that order. Janet lives next door to the housewife. Barbara is the physicist's best friend. Elaine once wanted to be a lawyer but decided against it. Jeanette has seen Barbara in the last 2 days but has not seen the physicist. In order, Jeanette, Barbara, and Elaine are the... You get it? All right, so the answer is Jeanette's the lawyer, Barbara's the housewife, and Elaine is the physicist. Question 3. Why is it better to build houses out of brick instead of out of wood? The answer that is on their key for this test is brick houses are less likely to burn down. But is that the only intelligent answer? Is that the only answer you could potentially give to this? Potentially brick houses would be sturdier too, right? And you wouldn't get termites in a brick house. Question 4. Who wrote Faust? The answer is Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. Did you know that one? Question 5. Rearrange the following letters to make real words. Okay, so you can rearrange the first one to make chair, second to make stove, and third to make clock. Question 6. Which object does not belong? Clam, tree, oven, rose. The answer is oven. And you could say this because it's either not a part of nature or it's not a living thing. One of those. Question 7. Poetry is to prose as dance is to A. Music, B. Walk, C. Sing, D. Talk. Answer is B. Walk, because poetry is the opposite of prose and dance is the opposite of walk. apparently. Question 8. Write as many sentences as you can using this form. Can you think of any sentences? 4 words. First one starts with W, second one starts with a C, third one E, fourth one N. Well, one you could say is, we covered every notch. That is technically a sentence. Question 9. What is the next word? Pop, stop, barred, drab, rats. Do you know? The answer is star. Because it's pots, and then stop is pots backwards, then it's barred, and drab is barred backwards, and then it's rats, and star is rats backwards. Question 10. Charles is younger than Robert. Charles is older than Frank. Who is older, Robert or Frank? The answer is Robert. So Charles is younger than Robert, which means Robert's older. And Charles is older than Frank, which means Frank is younger. So if Robert's older than Charles and Frank is younger than Charles, then Robert must be older than Frank too. Alright, so these are examples of questions from actual intelligence tests. Some popular tests are the Stanford-Binet Intelligence Test, the Wechsler Adult Intelligence Scale, and the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children. Each of these tests use a variety of subtests with different purposes to provide an overall score that somehow indicates intelligence. So what kind of theory are they using here? This seems like a general intelligence score, and all of these subtests are the sets of abilities and constructs within that are part of that general intelligence. So, the score they get from these tests is called the IQ. And IQ stands for intelligence quotient. And it's a standardized score. So that means that there is a mean of the score, and most people fall in that area. And that mean is 100. Most people get somewhere around 100 on this IQ test, or on these intelligence tests. There are standard deviations, though. People do deviate from 100. For the Stanford-Binet, the points might deviate about for 16 points. And then for the Wechsler tests, it might be about 15. So that's pretty similar. They get pretty similar results. So, for instance, Wechsler's IQs, it's a mean of 100, standard deviation of 15. So, what do they classify people as intelligence-wise when they get certain IQ scores? So if you get a 130 plus, that means your intelligence is very superior. Not a lot of people get this. It is quite rare. And then 120 to 129 is superior. 110 to 119 is high, average, or bright normal. more people tend to fall in this area than the other two. 90 to 109 is the average. This is where most people are. And then 80 to 89 is low average or dull normal. A decent amount of people are also here. 70 to 79 is borderline. And then 69 and below is mentally retarded or mentally defective. So if you may have some sort of learning disability if you have an IQ of 69 and below. And if it's below 79, you may be borderline for a disability. And these are also fairly rare in the population. So that's what this looks like here. So as you can see, this is the bell curve of IQ scores. So 100 is right here. This is 100, the score of 100. Most people are here. And then people kind of just trickle out from that. So the majority of people are average, and then there's more high average and low average, and then there's very few gifted and delayed. And that is how the intelligence quotient works. What's really interesting is this thing called the Flynn effect of the IQ. So what the Flynn effect is that the IQ is standardized, right? So it is adjusted yearly to make sure that the average, the mean score is 100. And what's really cool about this is the mean score moves up every year. So people are getting more intelligent. So what was 100 in 1932, or what was 100 in 1997 was 120 in 1992, or 32. That's what that shows here. So that curve, that average amount of people here has moved up from here in 65 years. And you can see that this is the gifted area in 1932, and now that's a big chunk of 1997. And that's very cool. That's awesome. So this is kind of an indication that we may be getting smarter. And this is another representation of that. So this is how many IQ points have been gained. So on the test itself, how many points do you get? And then they'll adjust that to make sure that your total score is 100. But they have had to adjust it to over 30 points in the last decade. Or century, wow, not decade. Which is awesome. That means we're getting smarter, guys.